have to ask you guys, how many of you ever go back or remember the times you used to walk around in the Division 1 in New York City and then just be in shock of how amazing the atmosphere felt? I don't think there's been another game that's captured my attention like the atmosphere from the Division 1. And we're not talking about gameplay, we're not talking about anything else besides how New York City felt. I felt like I was inside the game, from the cold weather to the snow to deserted streets to abandoned cars. You can even see the birds slowly taking off as you get closer, the crunching of your boots hitting the snow, the wind blowing by you. You could hear that in the game, and all of that brought one of the best atmospheres I've ever been a part of. Even when you're walking around, you see people in need of food, water, literally begging for you to help them. And when the snowstorm comes in, it even gets better. You can see the snowflakes flying by your face. You can see the wind start to pick up. The visibility starts to go down. And then night comes in. And New York City's bright lights from Times Square start to show. And that's something I haven't felt from another game, and not even the Division 2. I feel like what they were able to capture with this game was something one of a kind. Think about it. What we felt in the Division 1 was what we had happen to us a couple years ago with COVID, when everything was on lockdown, the streets were empty, no one was out. We literally had what happened in the Division 1, but in real life. And when you think about how we felt when we played this game and how we felt like we were part of it, it just makes you think how good of a game the Division was atmosphere-wise. I don't think there's a game that comes close to it. Just look at the lights. Look how everything lights up. Look how everything starts to get fogged up because the snowstorm's coming in. Your visibility is starting to go down. The storm is starting to pick up. You can still hear the crunching of your boots on the ground, the wind blowing by you. And this is something very special. And I wonder if the Division will ever be able to capture something on this level again. Who knows? I know Division 2 doesn't have this type of atmosphere, but maybe in future installments, they'll be able to recapture what they did with Division 1. Now, I'd say New York City definitely is a special place, so it's very hard to really recreate what they did with Division 1. But there are other cities in the US that maybe with the right weather, with the right lighting, with the right city environment, could create something this amazing. And even to this day, when people talk of the Division 1, they talk of the Division 2, the one thing everyone will agree on is the atmosphere from Division 1 is truly one of a kind. Like, take a look at this cop car right here. The trunk is open, the windshields are cracked, has bullet holes in it. It looks like it crashed. Then right next to it, you have two people begging for food, looking for water, literally freezing to death. And then more abandoned vehicles. Like, when you're walking through this city, it feels empty, but still so alive. As we get closer to New York City's Times Square, you start to see the bright lights, which are some of the brightest in the world. And could you imagine walking through Times Square and it being completely empty with not one single person? But to your right, you see a big quarantine sign, which you know that is a dark zone, which is forbidden for people to enter without having some type of mask. You start to hear a notification over the loudspeakers talking about the Joint Task Force doesn't patrol past this point. And they're talking about the dark zone, knowing there's an area that you need to be very careful when entering. The spookiness, the on edge, the I'm not sure what will happen next is pretty amazing. And look, there is somebody walking around looking for food, looking for clothes. maybe scavenging items too. We have another cop car that was abandoned, and then a dead body right in the middle of a street where no one's helping him. Another one laying on this ambulance, probably begging for help, but just couldn't survive because of the cold. Then you have a civilian out here on these streets with no weapons, trying to scavenge something. That's what's so authentic about this world that they created with the Division 1 during a pandemic, during an outbreak, was so authentic. Take a look at the steam coming out of this manhole cover. The details that they put into this game was just something one of a kind. And when we enter into this store, it's completely empty, when on any given day it would have hundreds, if not thousands of people visiting it, especially it being right on Times Square. And all you see is empty boxes and nothing here. It's just a really creepy feeling. Now, I'll tell you, I hope one day they can really bring this type of environment and this type of atmosphere to the Division. And I hope we get it, and whenever we get the next installment, because this is what I would love to see. Let's take a look at this Apple store. We're not going to call it Apple store, but technically it is an electronics store. You can see the empty laptops just sitting here, phones, and just nobody here to do anything. There's not even anybody here to take anything because of how deserted this city is. Now I gotta know, between the Division 1 and the Division 2, which one really captured your attention with the atmosphere? If you never played Division 1, then you won't be able to answer. But I just gotta know, what was so special about Division 1 when you played it? What was your one memory that you remembered from Division 1 still to this day? Let me know in the comments. And what we're gonna do here, guys, is I'll finish off with a little solo quiet walking so you guys can just take it all in. Enjoy.